In addition to the often discussed and well-known testing techniques, such as penetration testing and vulnerability assessment, there are also several other testing types and an additional concept or two that you should be aware of before taking the CISSP examination. These include focus areas such as interface testing, misuse case testing, synthetic transactions, authorization testing, code review, and test coverage analysis. Synthetic transactions will emulate the actions of a person so that tasks such as checking to see if a server is operational or if a certain process is working correctly can be automated. Synthetic transactions can also be used to measure the stability of a system or technological process or service. It can be used for discovering the availability status of systems or to provide alerting. And it can generally mimic the actions of a user. For example, filling out forms automatically may be part of a synthetic transaction. Generally speaking, a quality of synthetic transactions includes that they are highly predictable. Depending on the type of assessment that is being performed, there are a couple of different ways that testing can occur. The first of these is known as automated testing, in which the application or system performing the test will go through a predetermined set of stages and steps in order to detect and possibly rate vulnerabilities. Some automated testing will even exploit issues that are found. The benefits of automated testing include that it can be set up to run without much interaction with the user. It is also very fast compared to manual testing. The problem is that sometimes automated testing is not very accurate. One of the reasons for this is because the automated system does not fully understand the full context of what is being tested, nor does it have the full capabilities to mimic the troubleshooting skills of a trained security professional. Another benefit of automated testing is that it is definitely less resource intensive. For instance, by taking advantage of automated testing, a single person can enumerate all of the known vulnerabilities in a large network in just a short time. On the other hand, manual testing requires that someone is actually reviewing all of the elements that are involved and attempting to discern if there are opportunities for successful attacks. This, of course, means that the process is very slow as compared to automated testing. The good news here is that when a person is in charge of the testing and manually going through the process, they are then able to apply the full context of the environment being tested. If there are unknown vulnerabilities, they might be identified by somebody that's performing manual testing. Unfortunately, this process is definitely very resource intensive, and as such, also very expensive. Manual testing is usually reserved for only the most critical of systems. Test coverage analysis is typically used for application development. It is used to determine the amount of functionality and code that has or will be tested. Since time and other resources are typically constrained, the testing should be focused on those areas most likely to contain security weaknesses. It is important to understand the entire context of something that is to be tested, so that you will be able to determine the critical pieces. Testing techniques will vary, but usually involve many conversations and interviews with the project team to understand how the application works and how the flow should occur. Once you fully understand the environment, you can map out what is being tested using automated and manual assessment tools, and then attempt to find any gaps. Any gaps in testing that are found should be reviewed to see if they should be added to your testing plans. When performing comprehensive code testing, you should take advantage of both dynamic and static testing. Let's take a look at the two. We will start with reviewing some features of dynamic testing. Dynamic testing requires that the program is running. That is because dynamic testing will interact with the executed code. This allows the test to include interactions between applications. You should be aware that the code must be fully operational before you will be able to conduct this type of testing. Dynamic testing will not require you to have access to the source code in order to perform your testing. Now let's take a look at static testing. Code will not need to be executed in order to perform static code testing. Static code analysis will involve a process of reviewing the product specifications, documentation, and the actual source code to see if there are any security issues found. When performing static analysis, coding issues can be identified early on in the software development lifecycle. Static analysis can only be performed with access to the source code. Interface testing is a very important aspect of software testing. It involves making sure that components work as originally intended when interfacing with each other or with other applications. Interface testing involves testing the components in combination with each other. You will ensure that any communications and data is being transferred accurately and that the components operate in a secure manner. During interface testing, you will be required to validate that the data is not subject to any security concerns